What is up, guys? It is Jack, back up in this bitch with Henley's Fitness. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Modafinil, alright? My experience with it, and, link that in with some of my friends' experience with it, and a brief description of it as well, for those of you who don't know what it actually is. Okay, so, to get straight into this, I want to say, this is probably going to be a part 1 of 2. Maybe not. I've not quite decided yet, because to this point, I've only used the stuff quite moderately. Okay, only in small amounts to get a desired effect. I've not really pushed it to its limits and seen what it can do to its full extent, okay? So that is when stacked with other things, I mean. I have taken the full dose on its own, but like I say, this is probably going to be a part 1 out of 2, depending on whether I do decide to take it that extra step and take it to its limits. But I'll get into what I mean by that as I get into the video, but anyway. Okay, so Modafinil. For those of you who don't know, it's one of these, quote-unquote smart drugs. I don't know whether you'd class it as a nootropic or not. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'm pretty new to the whole smart drug thing, and it is a prescription drug, I should say, for anyone that's wondering. I was able to get it through prescription on account of my ADHD, but I do believe you can import it as well online. Okay, so on to my experiences from using Modafinil. I would say the very reason that you should use this stuff, the very reason that I have come to use this stuff and the way I found it to work best, is in how it allows me to perform when I'm running on very little sleep. Okay, when I'm very tired, lots of long nights studying in the library, and I've got an exam the next day, or I need to get a lot done before the exam the next day, but I'm running on low sleep, so I only get a couple hours. That's when this stuff really comes into its own. That's when it's really good, because you wake up feeling like shit. If I pop some of this, particularly when I then combine it with caffeine, I'll get into my experiences of stacking it with caffeine in a minute, but that's when it really comes into its own. That's when it's really good, because when I take it, even though I've had a good night's sleep and I take the stuff, I don't really notice much difference. I don't really notice an effect, but when I'm very tired, it's very good at keeping me going. Like I say, when I stack it with caffeine, especially in those times, and keeping me productive and getting a lot done and focused. So, to talk about the effects of mixing it with caffeine, or stacking it, as a lot of people say, I should say as a background, I normally drink about 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day. That's kind of like my baseline for caffeine, so I do have a reasonable amount, and give or take an extra energy drink or 2 when I've got a lot to study for. So to give this stuff a fair test, what I did was because I thought it would react with other stimulants after looking into it, and kind of common sense as well, so I removed caffeine from the equation first of all. Okay, when I was first using the stuff, I took all caffeine out, and I just took half a dose of Modafinil, so 100 milligrams. So just half a pill for me. So I took half a pill, no caffeine, and I wasn't very tired at this time either. So like I say, I was with it already. I didn't really need waking up all too much. So I took half a dose of it, and I didn't really feel much effect. Okay, it felt like nothing really hit me or anything like that. It was just like pretty much like I'd just had the coffee. It was like I'd replaced the coffee with Modafinil. And it actually turned out to be a pretty fair carryover, apart from it was a more smoother transition. Coffee will kind of lift you up slowly, but then dump you down at the end. You kind of have a crash. I don't really get that with Modafinil. It lifted me up gently, and it kind of faded gently. It was quite nice. It was a smoother version of coffee. That's really a smoother version of caffeine, I should say, was my experience with it when I had it 100 milligrams alone. The next step was I had 100 milligrams with coffee. I had my regular caffeine dose on top of that, and this was probably the best experience I've had with it to date. They kind of work synergistically, if you get me. They work together. So, like I say, I get that gradual lift, and they kind of work with each other. So, rather than when you have the effect where you double the dose of caffeine, what you find is you become overstimulated. You know what I mean? So, you're kind of very edgy, you do like that anxiety. I mean, I do certainly when I have too much caffeine or whatever. And you start feeling your heart pounding in your chest, which when it comes to focus and concentration is really not what you want, certainly in my experience, because some people really like that wired feeling, but for me, when my heart's pounding like that, I get really I start feeling really weird and worried. Worried that I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling from my experience, and I can't focus when I've got that going on. So this is really nice because it added to the effect of caffeine and made it more intense, and then the focus and concentration benefits, without giving me the negative effects of being overstimulated. So 100 milligrams of Modafinil with my regular dose of caffeine, so 3 cups a day of coffee. That's probably my best experience on it to date. Like I say, that worked very well. I highly recommend that if you are running on very little sleep and you're quite tired, as I say, that is a very good combo to get you up and, with it, working again, get back at the stuff. So that's probably my best use with it. And interestingly, again, my next step after that was I tried to up it to the recommended dose of modafinil. So on its own, that is. So that's 200 milligrams or 1 pill in the form I was getting it. So again, to give it a fair test of the 200 milligrams, I cut out all caffeine. So no caffeine whatsoever, no coffee, or energy drinks, just 200 milligrams of modafinil. And my experience there was, again, really quite interestingly in how it was disappointing. You know what I mean? Because, again, once I removed caffeine from the equation and just had modafinil, it was very weak. I had really noticed very little effect. It was, again, as if I just had coffee. It was, again, like I just had my regular dose of coffee, despite the fact that I had doubled the amount from before. So, overall, I would say my experiences from it are, I do rate the product. I think it's a good, a good substance to take and to work with if you're running low on sleep. But only, from my experience, only when I combine it with caffeine. And of course, I've only done it very moderately so far, but that's given me a sufficient effect. And like I say, that's why this is part 1, because I don't want to do too much and end up overstimulated. Being really wired and, my heart pounding in my chest, because that defeats the purpose for me. That actually takes away from my concentration at that point, because I'm feeling so uncomfortable and worried, and I can't sit still, so I can't, sit down and get on with stuff. So there may be a part 2 where, like I said before, where I go ahead and take 200 milligrams of modafinil and I mix that with caffeine, or I take the regular 100 milligrams and I mix it with elevated caffeine levels. So I start, bringing in energy drinks and things like that. But for now, I'm getting the effect that I want out of this stuff. I'm very happy with what I get with the, that recommended combination that I like of 100 milligrams of modafinil with like 3 cups of coffee a day. I really like that so far. Okay guys, so that is my experience with modafinil to this point. That is how I've come to find it to be helpful and useful to myself. However, I want to talk about something real quick that is not talked about very often, and it's just a little concern I have revolving around the stuff that is not talked about very often. And that's because I guess there's not really a lot of data on the long-term effects of it. Okay, and I don't have the facts to back this up. I don't have evidence on it because, like I said, I don't know if it's even there. But something I found when I looked into the long-term effects of this stuff, and as to whether it was safe in the long term, because in the short term, there's not really any side effects, so everyone kind of assumes that it's safe and all good, which it may well be. Like I say, this is just a concern that is revolving around people in the know when it comes to how drugs and things affect, performance in the long term. So, when I looked into it, what I found was there's a number of professors who have concerns over the fact that students and people are using this stuff. These are people who have studied the effects of, drugs used to help people recover from addictions and other cognitive enhancers as well. What they found was, or suspected and worried about was, often when someone uses a substance to alter, themselves cognitively, the way they think. So, say they're thinking at this baseline level first. Okay, this is their cognitive ability, if you will, and that's a very basic and simplified version of it. But let's just say that this is their cognitive level initially. What they find is then, when people use stuff to boost it up to another higher level, which modafinil and smart drugs supposedly do, is that's all well and good, and they do receive these benefits initially. So they are cognitively enhanced. They're thinking better than they were before. It's an increase. But what they find is over time, people come to develop a resistance to the stuff. They become used to taking it. Their body becomes accustomed to working on this stuff. So its effect gradually decreases and decreases and decreases while you're on to the initial level you were originally at. So it goes up, then goes back down over time. And what you get at this point is you're at the initial level of cognitive performance on the stuff, i.e. you've become dependent on the stuff. Your body needs the stuff to function normally. So rather than becoming, modafinil being an enhancer, it's actually a cognitive normalizer. Okay, so you actually need this stuff just to function normally at this point. So, simple logic dictates that when you then come off the stuff, you drop down to here. So overall, your cognitive performance is at a lower level than before, when you weren't taking anything. So the overall effect long term may be that you're actually damaging your brain power. You're actually fucking with your baseline cognitive ability by screwing around with it and pushing it up, because your body will become reliant on it. And I don't know if this is how it works. I don't know if it's true. This is just the suspicions and worries of some very smart people, okay? And like I say, there's no data behind it. I'm not saying that is what happens, or I'm trying to scare anyone off modafinil. I'm not saying that for a second. All I'm saying is, like I say, it's some very smart people who have an in-depth, insight into the way the brain works, worry that this is the effect of the stuff. And they say they understand that people might want to use it short term, and when times are tough, you're not getting a lot of sleep, times of extreme pressure, they think it's probably okay if to just use this stuff every so often as a quick boost. However, routine use of this stuff is actually really scaring these intelligent people. They actually think that routine, daily usage of this stuff, people who come to use it all the time to try and get an edge, is actually in the long term may well be counterproductive and may well actually hurt cognitive ability. But like I say, that's just suspicion. There's not a lot of evidence, or any evidence as far as I know, to back that up. Just something to think about, guys. But anyway, guys, that's really all I have to say on that for now. Hope you found that interesting. Please leave a like if you did. Check out my sponsors, alphacore.com. My first video sponsored by them. Very happy to announce that. I'll do a full video on that, talking about them and their company soon, and how happy I am about the sponsorship, because I'm very pleased to be sponsored by them. But yeah, check out their website, thealphacore.com, for awesome t-shirts like this one, training services coming soon, and they also offer graphic design for your YouTube channel. So use discount code JACK10 on their website to receive discount on all that awesome stuff. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been Jack with 10 Years Fitness, and I'll see you guys in the next one.